This episode is brought to you by Head. Over here at the Ahhh-P podcast, we rate good head. So if you'd like to send us your content, send us the email at ahhsensiblewoes@gmail.com. Now let's start the episode.
Our sins and woes. Our sins and woes. Our sins and woes.
Welcome to episode 17 of the Ahhh-P podcast, the podcast where a bunch of dumbass millennials talk about their dumbass opinions, their dumbass perspectives, their dumbass mistakes, and their dumbass shit complaints. I'm your host, Nelson, and thank you for joining me today. God, I sound sick. I sound sick, right. I'm getting better. We're getting over this weather. It's 2020. Shout out to my younger brother. Hydrate, bitches. Throw that out. Hydrate. All right. But it's 2020, and the Ahhh-P team got some big shit popping. So I'm very much looking forward to the next couple weeks we got going on.
Hell
Man,
yeah.
it's about to be some good shit. Did you get my text about episode 20? Yeah. All right. So like I said, we got some big shit cooking. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of smoke. But we got some big shit cooking in 2020. So very much look forward to that. Shout out to the Montclair Library. Still letting us come in. They even gave us a little hookup today. That's not important as to what hookup they gave us, but they gave us a hookup. So shout out to the Montclair Library for that. Yeah. And shout out to 795. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Keep following them on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. They are cooking with some big shit. So with all that being said, let me go ahead and introduce my guest today. Ahhh-P, what's up, baby?
What's going on? How you doing?
So I got a story. Fuck how I'm doing. I got a story to tell.
Right.
So I'm at the bar, one of these local bars. I'm stopping by out of the way. And I run into this conversation, this couple talking to their homegirl. Right. And they're talking about how, like, the homegirl was staying at her friend's house because her friend needed some extra help with the rent.
Right.
And basically what happened was the girl who needed help with the rent, her dude got locked up. So,
like that.
Yeah, I guess it'd be like that. But he got locked up, and when he finally got out, it was like 6 months later. Yeah. He finally got out, and he pulled up to the door, knocking on the door. So the girl that was telling the story was like, "Yo, like, your dude's at the door. He's knocking. Like, what do I do?" And they were telling the stories like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? I was like, well, it depends. Like, is he coming? Like, were you holding down the fort, as you know the younger generation would say, holding down the fort while he was locked up, or like did you break up with that dude while he was locked up?
Yeah.
So
because y'all been in the house together while this nigga been locked up.
Right.
Apparently y'all been talking about him, so you know the protocol. What
Yeah.
are you confused about?
So I'm sitting here like, it depends what he came to the door to ask for. If he's like, hey, I just came to pick up my shit, that's one thing. But if he came like, yo, I'm out and I'm hungry, what's up? Right. Like, I have so many questions.
We don't know how he get down either.
Right.
So
I'm sitting there like, it all depends on like what his expectations were when he came out.
Right.
So you gotta set that like, I was like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like you staying with somebody that was in jail the whole time. And people were like, nah, if my dude ever gets locked up, my girl ever gets locked up, I'm not staying with them.
I respect that.
And I respect that too, but if that's what you want out of that relationship, that's fine. Right. But you can't knock somebody for doing that.
At all. You
and
can't.
People will do that. And I'm like, well, Gucci's girl did it. Like,
that's the whole point of companionship, the highs and lows.
Right.
If there's a low, nigga, that's it.
Facts. If there was ever a low, it's probably that your dude is doing 12 to 36 months. That's the biggest hurt in the relationship. But the biggest thing I want to pull from that, because I'm just listening to that, and I'm like, okay, well, y'all were living together before, and then he got locked up, so now you're not living with him, and you brought like your homegirl in to help you pay the rent. I wanted to touch off codependency off of that.
Okay. Because
like something so simple as like going to jail can sometimes be the make it or break it in a relationship. But then the aspect of codependency in today's society is like strongly frowned upon. Just the word, like the action of people are all for it and they don't even realize it. Like if you're that couple that's been dating for 6-7 years and y'all ain't got married, y'all like embracing the fact that, like y'all embracing the aspect of codependency.
Right.
So I don't understand why we, as today's generation, frowned upon that aspect as a whole, like marriage. We hate marriage.
By default, it takes two people making good ass money to even survive around this mug. So I mean, inherently, you should be codependent unless you are part of the small percentage of people that can really sustain.
No. One person provides, the other person still trying to figure out where that aspect is.
You speaking in that.
Today's day and age, it's like, but no, like you're right. It does take two people to nowadays. It does take two people to build a house. Right. Like say you take a family to raise a kid, and yeah, it does take a village to raise a kid most of the time. And I think that's where we lose ourselves. It's like it's all about me, myself, and I. Right. So then when it comes to the codependency and you taking the time to depend on somebody else, it's frowned upon in today's society.
It is.
And I have no idea why the fuck that is, because the way we push our children, right, or the next generation, is we teach them to be more self-sufficient. Right. And we're all about teaching them to be dependent upon themselves. But then we come from like a lot of households that are embrace codependency.
To the maximum.
Dad pays the mortgage, mom pays the water bill. Dad fixes the house, mom buys the groceries. Right. Like dad tweaks and tunes these things, mom does the laundry. Like that's the nature of which we come from. But God forbid, now you talk to these other girls and like, oh, why should I have to know how to cook? I know how to pay my own things. Okay, but like that's not how codependency works. Like if you can live independently by yourself and they can live independently by yourself, why do you need to live under the same roof? Just die alone.
And I guess even then, when we're talking codependency, we really only talk about it from tangible aspects of resources. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that person that's not bringing in any money is providing riches as far as emotions, because this person that is providing is emotionally fucked up. Yeah. but you don't. But a person. But you don't. But you can't. You might not be able to see that. Yeah. Necessarily in that regard. So it doesn't. So that the person's getting any merit for being there for someone emotionally, even though they're not providing. So per se in a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, no, exactly what you said. But even that can go to so many physical aspects. If you're the person that lives at home and you don't work, it's not just like emotional comfort or like mental comfort you're providing. I mean, there's certain stipulations that go around the house. Like if you're a mother of 3 and you don't work, it's probably because you're at home taking care of all 3 kids. But God forbid you say you're a stay-at-home mom in today's society. Oh, we gonna have your ass. Like we definitely gonna make a cooking session out of you. Because it's frowned upon.
It is. If you haven't already gone through and done the other checkpoints, I'll get your degree. And yeah. I deferred on a career. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. That's acceptable. But if a woman just wants to say, no, I want to just hold a nigga down, I'm with you.
No. You Gucci's girl.
Right. But granted, she flipped whatever money Gucci gave her into $1 million. Most of these bitches ain't doing that shit out
we all got goals. It's just a matter of whether we're accomplishing them or not.
Exactly.
We all got goals, though. But, and I blame that, I always blame it on the older generation because of how they push the independence so much. Like, oh, you got to learn how to do this by yourself, and you got to learn how to do that. And then, like, that has trickled down into fucking hot girl summer, where, like, every girl feels the need to push their public agenda. And then they're like, no, I don't need a man. Okay, bitch, well, why every time I see you in a relationship? What is that guy there for if you don't need a fucking man? Well, it makes me happier. Okay, bitch, like, that's codependency. Like, that's how that works. Exactly. That is codependency. Welcome to, our society. Right. But then it comes to the point where we got to stop, like, giving that a negative connotation.
No, this is true.
So, the biggest thing about our folks is that they do push that that codependency less, but then it's a matter of like, when will it ever hit that turn again? Where like we come into this day and age where like our parents have pushed independence more onto us, so now we as the younger generation are sitting into a mindset of independentness. When will it make that turn again where it's like, okay, y'all getting tired of being or not relying on somebody else? So then we're pushing it's okay to depend on somebody else. Because that's really what it was. It was based off like you're tired of putting all the weight on somebody else just for them to turn around and let you down. So then we're making that too. I only see it as a matter of time because, life works in circles. Yeah. Culture works in circles. It's only a matter of time before we take that and say, hey, now it's time. It's okay to depend on other people.
I think we're approaching that time just because of how the economics are playing out. Mm-hmm. But I think social media, and I hate being that dude that's like making social media the boogeyman and shit, but it is totally warped the whole concept of what success is. Like the generation before us, we kind of touched on this in your last episode.
Oh yeah, by all means. Shout out to episode 16 with Deuce.
Yeah, the generation before us, they didn't have to be somebody. They just had to not embarrass me. That was the rule. Just don't embarrass me. Mm-hmm. Go out there, just be an upstanding citizen. American dream. Get a job, someone to love on when you come home, and some property.
Yeah.
Then you get into the people who grew up through the 70s.
Is that what my parents always said? Don't embarrass me in public?
That makes so much sense.
That makes so much sense.
That's where they come from. And so you have who could be considered our parents. They through the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. Stock market, yuppies, progressive. So now it's not don't embarrass me. It's go out and be somebody. And now television is more prominent. So the whole idea of being an icon is not as abstract anymore. Yeah. It's not as much of a crackpot dream. Yeah. A little bit, but if you hit the right plug, you can do it. Then you come into where we hit. We took on the old guard. We were born into that, but then the idea of being somebody became being somebody. Yeah. Like it seemed more attainable. And so we walk around with the stress of we can't just get a 9-to-5, get somebody and everything be okay, because we are going to constantly have pressure to be progressive. Facts. We're going to have to constantly be in contact with that person that's got an extra zero in their bank account. Facts. You're not isolated anymore necessarily. So and I forgot where I was even going with this. But it felt good.
It happens, bro. It happens so much more than you would think.
I forgot what we were speaking to on that. Hey man, it's been one of the mornings.
It's a one in the morning. But my biggest question is, can codependency cause more harm than help?
Oh, the turning point. That's what you're asking. Well, I think we're getting there. It's just social media's gonna have to fizzle out. We're gonna have to really get back to the fact that no, you are your surroundings. Your neighbor.
That's what my biggest problem with social media is people don't realize that.
Like your neighbor's going to be the one who has the sugar when you ain't got no sugar. Yeah. If you need that milk. You need
No. People think it's the person that's hitting them up in the most in their DMs is the one that's got the sugar from.
No. Yeah. Get snowed in. You learn real quick how your life really functions. Exactly.
But then people get snowed in and they're sitting on Instagram all damn day. Like that's what kills me about that. But that is my biggest issue. I'm glad you brought that up because I always say that it's like you have to understand that even in your social media realm, that's what you intentionally bring around you. You don't get to pick your neighbors. Right. Most of the time, you're not picking your neighbors. So when you got to go over to the next door neighbor and ask them for a cup of sugar, that's somebody that's may very well be way out of your element that you have to learn how to talk to. Right. Social media, you don't have to do that. Nope. Who's hitting you up the most in DMs? Who relates to most of the posts that you do? But coming back to that codependency and it being more harm than, or is it more harm than help? How often is there a situation which codependency can be good?
I think it's just as often as it can be bad. It's situational. It only looks bad when it's going bad. Because when it's when you giving someone a bag and they're giving you back 2 bags, that look like the move. Yeah. But most of the times, people, that's not what's happening.
It's a 1-for-1 swap.
Right. Most of the time, somebody's giving more than what they're getting, and then there's another group of people who are hearing the complaints, and so they're like, "Nigga, why are you even dealing with that?" Yeah. It's not inherently because it's a codependent situation. It's codependent without any prosperity.
But sometimes that can also be a very good thing. Sometimes giving 2 bags and getting 1 back can be good too. I had a conversation with my best friend about this, and he asked me, or he was asking me about the situations in life where you're giving something into a relationship, you're getting something from a relationship, and then it's just equal. And I said it depends on the relationship. Like, I didn't think about it till I was explaining it to him, and then it kind of triggered my own self-interest in the conversation. But I was like, well, you have to think about who you're talking to. Like, in your relationship, like with your girl, yes, that should be a one-for-one swap. There are certain things that she should be able to give you, and there are certain things that you should be able to give her. Right. But, like, if you use one of your friends, for example, I can't tell you how those friendships need help because I don't know all your other friends the way I know you. Right. But if you use this one person, for example, then you're like a big brother to them. So you have to put 2 in to get 1 back because you're supposed to be an inspiration for them. You're supposed to, yeah, exactly. So it depends on like how much or the amount that you put in and the amount that you get back depends on the relationship. Sometimes it's fine to invest. You're putting more in and then you come out like you break even or you come out less than, but that was your intentions because of that relationship.
You bring up a good point in that a lot of people don't even know who they are in their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who they are to.
Are you the receiving or the giver?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It's like even knowing that you're the inspiration that someone is even looking up to you while you're dealing with them. You know, I've had situations and seen many situations where things fell apart because the person didn't realize that this person was frustrated out of admiration. But because they couldn't step into that role and really see themselves like that, they allowed this to fizzle. And really, they were supposed to boss up, pull them in, you know, apply the staff to the situation, and use their higher faculties that they know they have. And
yeah.
But I think we as the people, we do also want to be here with people.
With everybody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta realize there's a role to play.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. When you said, God damn it, I fucking lost it. But in a sense of when you said frustrated out of admiration, that's what it was. And you mean like people, like they're looking at you and they like what you do so much that it annoys them?
No, I mean, like you might not be contacting somebody. You might be kind of spotty with your communication. And they feel like you're playing them because they look at you in a certain esteem.
Yeah.
Whereas you were thinking, oh, that's my person, that's my boy. I'm just giving them time. I gotta handle something. They understand. They know what's going on. But they're putting you in a whole other light.
Yeah.
And so they feel as the best way to describe it would be in simplest terms, like being an unpopular person, but having a friend who's a popular person.
Yeah.
And then whenever they can't get up with you, you assume that they're doing popular kid shit on you.
Yeah. I'm tracking.
You know that's not how they are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I'm definitely tracking. And codependency now versus codependency in the past. Like, how is that different? Like, if you think about our parents being codependency as opposed to like us in today's age being codependent.
I think psychological awareness is the biggest difference. Like, there's so much emotional ignorance.
Facts.
That our previous generations lived and moved through. I mean, mainly out of necessity, but it doesn't change the fact that they were still people with traumas, trying to move through traumas, passing down traumas.
Yeah.
And now we're reaching a point where people are more aware of the fact that, no, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And
we're in a day and age where things other people's problems become more relatable. As opposed to, like, I'm not sure if this is where you were going, but as opposed to like back in the day, like a guy never cared about thinking about how a girl feels. Now we're required to do that. Like as a guy now, if you can't relate to how your girl feels, you're the fuck boy.
all day. I mean, no. A fuck boy is somebody who does not acquiesce to emotional control.
Facts.
It does not give someone what they want. No, he's only a fuck boy because you're not getting what you want out of this nigga.
Yeah, I agree.
That's an overused term.
What, fuck boy?
Yeah,
but is it used more than toxic or Meg the Stallion?
God, it's like equal and the same. It's like if you hear Meg the Stallion, you also hear toxic. Like,
or fuck boy, or female.
Yeah, like this Megan Thee Stallion, she's a toxic ass female. hanging with multiple rappers, doing whatever.
All of them are fuckboys.
Exactly. Knowing damn well we don't know what the fuck she's doing. She could literally just be making business moves, but not way out there like, oh no, she's like Wiz Khalifa's dick. Like, how the fuck do you know that?
Yo, you could literally use that in. That's probably the most used sentence in 2019 is Meg Thee Stallion. This female be fucking around with these fuckboys and all in these toxic relationships. Right there, most overused sentence of 2019.
And even if she was, she's single. Why does that matter to you?
Nah, toxic relationship, bro.
You know, but most people screaming toxic are usually got some toxicity.
Right, like I said last episode.
I'm cool. I'm cool. You holding up a mirror to me as long as I can hold one up as well.
Right.
And then we can have a discussion.
God forbid you do that.
Yeah,
Then you're the bad guy.
Right.
But that codependency now against the codependency before or like in the previous generations. And it's just it's night and day, but for the worse. Because now people are scared to be, not scared to be, but people don't want to be codependent anymore. People don't want to sit there and say, I want to rely on somebody else.
Now, that scenario you actually brought up at the top of this. Flip that around and let it be two dudes talking about his homegirl, well, his friend's girl who got locked up. And
Okay.
She's coming back and she's sitting there knocking on the door. How does that change the framework of how we view codependency then? Because he in the other version it's he's still a man and okay he took a knock so he's supposed to understand he got to get on the ship but he still held to the standard of that's still a nigga so like go out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
This chick just caught a bid, came back, but she's the lady in the relationship.
Yeah.
And obviously you're able to you're holding yourself down because you're a man. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Why? Does he look more fucked up for not answering the door than the old girl did?
Does the guy not answering the door for the girl that got out of jail look more fucked up than the girl not answering the door for the guy that just got out of jail? Fuck.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes too, but that's such a fucking double standard.
And that's the problem. With
Yeah.
it shit really only cuts toward dudes.
Yeah.
Like, in a more hurtful manner. Because it's promoted. It is actually promoted still generationally for women to be classically codependent.
Yeah.
On a man, but that same allotment is not allowed the other way around. Even
Yeah.
though financially we know that women are getting more degrees. Anyway.
Yeah, we've touched it. We've touched it.
Right.
Shout out to episode 4 with Afia.
They really tapped into education and advancement, and it's really promoted. Even educational systems are geared toward the woman.
Yes.
I want to say female. At military background, we were just taught female. Me personally, I feel like female is the correct term because a woman and a man is a social construct. But I'm gonna leave that alone.
You see them right there? They all coming after your shit
No,
for saying
'cause-
female. All of them right there
We
and
told
that
Nelson
camera.
that he cannot say female because he says female like he's saying bitch.
Your words, not mine.
Those are your words.
Your words.
Hey man, you can't be out here calling bitches bitches.
Yo, look. Yeah, but I can be out here calling females females. All right, that's what I can do. All right. There you go. Man.
Oh shit.
But codependency, I think, came from originally, like if you base back off in the history, it came from a thought of the emotion, or not emotional, physical success. Okay. Like a man and a woman are going to live a successful life if y'all are married and y'all have kids and y'all live under a roof together, and that's all it takes. To be successful in life, you had to be codependent with somebody else and create a family. Right. Now it's like the only reason people want to be codependent is because they're emotionally needy. That's what it's about, filling the emotional void.
Because the resources are there for independent prosperity all day. I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, when you look at it that way, that I can't even rebut that. Yeah, but hey, if that's just. If anyone's, that's humans though, man. We have heartbeats, we have pulses, we are vibrations. Like we need to be held. Like there's people who grew up without certain things. It plays out in certain ways. If a person doesn't have nurture coming up, you see how that plays out in a child, in a teenager, and an adult. And how they,
Hell, it doesn't even depend on the fact that like you got that or didn't get that growing up. It's a matter of like human instinct. Like you just need nurturing.
Yeah. Right. It's the heart is just like the heart and the mind are just like the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be fed, and some people just are able to deprive themselves longer. You know, some niggas is like Ethiopians out here with their hearts. Like marathon runners, nigga, they don't need to stop for shit but a sip of water.
Ethiopians with their heart.
like marathon runners with the shit. And
yeah.
Other people, they gotta every 2 exits we gotta hit McDonald's, nigga, because I need a hug. Like.
You're not wrong. You're not fucking wrong. Oh, bad. Coming off of the codependency, because now you mentioned military. And it's one of my favorite military terms is dependopotamus. That's why it was crucial that I throw there. Again, I've said this before. For those of you who don't know, dependopotamus is your stay-at-home wife that just depends on the man to bring home the check every day. But she also brags about the fact that her man is military. I love that term so much because it describes so many people. But you being in the military and your experience, or not you being in the military now, but your previous history in the military and then your experience in the military, especially with everything going on lately. We're not going to touch on it because y'all watch the news or Twitter. But shots. but the day and age where we are, where the way the younger generation is coming into the military, or the reasons that the younger generation doesn't want to go into the military, it's really what I want to touch on. Okay. Especially like I think outside looking in, but the way I look at how things maneuver now in the military. It's almost softer. And granted, I blame it on peacetime. Peacetime is great. Peacetime is needed. But the way that like the military as a whole, the things that the military focuses on is like things you would never focus on during times of war. Like, oh, you can't say this, you can't. Like, the military pushes PC culture more than anybody else these days.
Pushes it. Practice? Nah, but pushes it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they don't practice it, but yeah, they definitely are pushing it.
No, they definitely push it, though. No, but I didn't cut you. Keep continue.
Oh, no, but just the sense of that is, like, it's all about my feelings this, my feelings that. Like, I've heard, because I know a lot of military people, I've heard people that went through basic training and they had their hands put on. Like, the instructors would put their hands on them. Oh, yeah. And then, like, now if you go through, like, and you're saying, hey, you're not allowed to, yeah, right, red card. A knock it off card. Right. And you're like, now, like, hey, you're talking within a 2 feet radius. You're making direct eye contact. You can't do that to me. I'm a human. And it's like, what? You're in the military. That makes no sense to me.
You can go back and look at yearbooks, man. Just look at pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And generation, and someone could say it's in the food. Generationally, motherfuckers like was 17 back. Niggas look like were grown when I was 17.
Yeah.
When my parents were 17, them niggas look like
children.
No, they look grown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Old folk.
Yeah, old folk. Like they actually really did mature physically faster, and because of where they were at, I guess socially. Mentally, they matured a little faster.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of had to get out there and get it a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say that the military has necessarily gotten soft as much as.
Not the military as a whole. Let me reword that properly. The people that are coming into the military.
I understand what you're saying. I apologize for phrase that correctly because, shout out. I'm very proud of my service. I don't want to say it's soft. We're just not using. The war is not as physical anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
And so it's
because it's not physical, because of the peacetime.
As physical.
Yeah.
It's still violent, but it's very. There's a lot of tech involved. So
less personnel.
Right. So you kind of that's a slippery slope to even get into and talk about, really, because it's I don't know, man, because you still got the ones that give it up, like for real. So it's like,
yeah. 100%. You have the dudes that are about like, it's my country, I'm going to do everything to protect it and stuff like that. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you're talking about the 1%. Right. You're definitely talking about the 1%. You already got a small fraction of the people that will come into the military to begin with. My problem is now you're talking about the 1%.
I think also sports, bro. A lot of these people a lot of the people who would have gone to the military maybe either had a brushing with authority early, so they
don't cope with it well.
And their life went a certain way, charges, and now they live in this kind of lifestyle, or they got locked up, or they're doing sports, or they're in MMA. Whereas before, that was the only outlet. Like you want to go fuck some shit up, join the military.
Yeah, but it always didn't have to be a physical game, because you had to think about all the different branches, the different jobs and fields like that. Like even if you wanted to be a finance personnel in the military, yeah, you still have to be qualified on managing, or you still have to be qualified on operating firearms. Yeah. But the chances of you picking it up, especially now, is slim to none. But you still have to be able to walk into a job atmosphere and abide by simple fucking rules. You have to wear your uniform every day. Right. You have to understand the way a rate structure works. Yeah, you have to do PT.
And I guess then I have to cape for the PC push, because now we're just speaking this in terms of like people that might you can't press them, like they might fold on the 4K if you on their neck.
Yeah,
but you then go to the aftermath on the back end of service. And while as human beings we have these brains and amazing things that can cope and allow us to adjust and get through in the wildest circumstances, but once no one's yelling at you no more, once you're not under that type of thing, but you've conditioned your reactions and this how you're comfortable moving yourself, because you mirror your surroundings.
Yeah.
And now you're around people who did not go through basic. They're on goofy shit, just like the rest of everybody.
Facts.
And you're coming with an energy with people that they can't comprehend, because they ain't from that, either they don't come up from that type of household, or they didn't go through that background.
Yeah.
And going through that's a trauma. That's a traumatic display.
Civilian to military to civilian world. Yeah.
But because you're conditioned for it, it's like, that's cool.
And granted, that's why they created the TAPS program. Or they don't call it TAPS anymore. They call it a GPS or whatever. The program where it's like that transitional course whenever you're separated out of the military, and it's like, well, granted, I feel like personally, I look at it and say, I feel like this is a cover my ass program.
Right. Like
this is because it's congressionally mandated, but this is like, hey, you've been separated from the military, but we've given you all the tools necessary for you to be completely 100% successful out of the military. Granted, like that doesn't really hold much weight, but like I understand the premise behind it. Right. But then again, I look at it like that's a cover my ass program. That's so the military can say, we gave you all the tools, so there's no reason why you should ever come out of the military not being successful.
I mean, but that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be nothing.
But call a spade a spade. Definitely got to call a spade a spade. But no, and I get it, like coming out of the military and like that world and that realm that you lived through, and then you coming out back into the civilian world, and it's completely night and day. I understand that 100%.
Like I'd have to, because I haven't been in a while, obviously, but if someone's going infantry, you expect for them to have just a certain threshold or if it's something that is really combat related, you expect them to have a certain threshold for interaction, because ain't shit nice out there. It's sweet out there. But in other fields, it would help the temperament better when it's a certain type of people around. So I get like in certain MOSs and in certain fields, and I know that's how they break up basic training. Also, is if you're going to be doing more combat shit, bending. Medical, you're going up Leonard Wood. I think what Supply they do is out in Fort Lee, something like that. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope. Cause that's what I was getting to. Mental illness is that you don't see it until you see it.
Yeah,
like
agree.
It's an abstract concept until you see someone who really has a problem that they can't control, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is what this does to people. And there's just a graveyard of motherfuckers in a skid rows of people who have this problem from these basic but aggressive interactions that they swallow, and then it doesn't look like a problem now, but the more you add on to that shit, the foundation's already cracked and fractured.
Yeah.
So I can understand how they could implement things to back up, because it ain't about money getting sued. They really are. People are really getting jacked up, man.
Yeah.
Because
mentally.
Like,
but I think a big problem with that is
and I'm gonna say this to be clear. It is not because it is the intention, or because people like the Army is trying to do that. Is that some people sign up for it, and it's certain you put people on a football team, and the coach starts to yell at them. They can't do it no more. So this isn't something I'm saying that's inherently bad about the Army.
Yeah.
It's just about
today's day and age.
And getting into things that are physical and group camaraderie based, structured in that manner. But I'm continuing on the phone.
You could. But and that's where I think it's a big problem, is the fact that we put a lot of military personnel in a box in which they should not be, like PTSD. I talked about this on episode 7 with when I had Sarah on, and I was talking about my non-existent biological father. Shout out to him. But I was talking about that, and I was talking about how abandonment issues cause PTSD. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a firm believer of that, because
PTSD.
Exactly. Yeah. As well off as I have been, as good as I feel now, I can wake up with a smile on my face. I can interact with everybody I interact. I can look at my father figures and just be the happiest person alive. I have great parental figures in my life. But that little portion of that abandonment issues causes some PTSD. Yeah. So it puts me in a place where I look at things a certain way. But that's me looking at it from a civilian mindset. But you say PTSD to somebody that's not military, and they're looking at it like, what do you mean? Because we've put military personnel in the box where only they can have PTSD. And it's like,
this is an acronym.
Exactly.
Traumatic stress. Is there trauma? Are you existing on the back end?
Exactly.
Do you have stress?
Exactly.
Motherfucker, that's a disorder.
Right.
It's plain English.
If I break down the words and I use them accordingly, holy shit, I could have this too. Right. And that's where it comes. I say because we don't look at things like it's not very common, not nobody, but it's not very common. Somebody would say my abandonment issues is the reason for my PTSD. Like, I've met military people that had PTSD before they were in the military.
But you feel like a whole saying that, though.
Right.
Real
shit. No, you're right.
Society makes you feel like
no, I feel like a hoe.
But we do.
Yeah, right. I'm tracking.
You know,
you feel like almost a weak person from coming out and saying, no, I've never served in war combat, but I have PTSD. And they say, why? Oh, because my biological father has a careless relationship with me. And yeah. People will look at you and be like, oh, you're a hoe. Nah. Granted, that's a response I would say, because that's just hilarious. Like, oh, you're being a hoe, bitch. Like, you're being a straight hoe. But no, I get it. Like, that, you're right. If you come out there and say you suffer from something that nobody takes seriously, unless you come from a background in which they would take it seriously.
And so now we get back into hot girl summer codependency and what a fuck nigga is. Is it possible that a fuck nigga suffers from PTSD from abandonment issues?
Who cares? Real shit. All right. Who cares if he's got some prior history? How does he make that girl feel in that instant? And that's what makes him a fuckboy. Fuck his history. I'm speaking for everybody else except myself, because I understand where you're going with this. I 100% understand. And I agree. Fuck his pain and struggles. He treating me like shit. So hot girl summer it is.
Cool. And that's their logic.
Yo, that is absolutely 100% their
bag for a
logic.
bag.
That's a
Cool. Like hey man.
Shit. Bag for a bag. But no, that's real shit. Like, I'm glad you made that full circle because that is the ideology. It's like, yeah, but who cares what you went through?
Right.
Who cares what you struggled for? Like, how are you treating me now? Have you not grown past this yet? Are you not there yet? Are you not a better person from your mistakes? Obviously not, like, because you're still feeling the impact of, like, what I went through growing up.
Right.
Yeah, if I ever get my life together and, you know, stop shouting out my biological father, our sins and woes won't be a thing no more. So embrace this feeling, I will.
And that's a part of greatness is that you got to have. It's very rare that you have somebody that's just everything went smooth. And they just happen to just click and just talent and I'm just doing this. If you scratch underneath, open a couple doors, that drive that comes from somewhere. It's not just for fancy.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I'm so glad you brought that up because you're right. Like Penrose brought this up and he was like, it's nobody cares about your plight as long as they feel like their plight is bigger. Yep. And that's real shit. Like, who cares what struggle you went through in the past? Because I'm going through this struggle right now. No. Like, yeah, it comes back to the slavery thing. I love this one. Yeah. When people talk about like, why are we talking about something from 400 years ago? Like, I wasn't a slave owner now. I deal with my own struggles and stuff like that. So fuck yours. Okay, but like, that shit I went through 400 years ago is still affecting me now. Exactly. So why are we disregarding my history? Like, why are we disregarding my past as if it is not a contributing factor? And that goes back to, like, me being a fuckboy. Not me personally. I'm not a fuckboy. Most of the time. But my history, and it causing me to do fuckboy shit.
Mm-hmm. An underwater landslide can cause a tsunami.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
All right.
I had to think about that. I was doing the math inside my head, but yeah, you're right.
Miles away, chunks of fucking rocks, shit go missing, get slapped off. Shit moves out, and then that's the title. You can't even use it. There's so much other water out there. How the fuck are you hitting this beach? Hey, proximity, baby.
Yep.
Like,
that's how waves work. That's how waves work. Currents and that's how water currents work. Yeah. You're welcome.
So that thing, man.
Yeah. Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've said it. Penrose has said it. Q has said it. There's nothing wrong with seeking counseling. If you feel like you need help, by all means, make sure you seek help.
Please seek help. And it doesn't make you inferior. It's not saying something's wrong with you. It's saying
Wait. I got it. It's called accountability.
Yes. Be accountable for yourself.
Thanks.
Be accountable for yourself. And be proud that you're accountable for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People don't like that word anymore, though. They don't want to take accountability for anything.
It's the word of 2020. Y'all better start liking the word. We're not using toxic anymore. Accountability is the word of 2020.
And drink water, damn it.
Yeah, and hydrate.
Shit. and don't listen to nobody to make you feel away by getting help, because they ain't going to have to clean your ass up when they go left.
Agreed.
True shit.
Facts.
And don't worry about your doctor bills, because the library, Montclair, they offer all kinds of counseling services. You can just come here completely free of charge.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you the paper after the episode, but yeah.
I wasn't soliciting, but
yeah.
information purposes.
You can always come to the Montclair Library. They have all kinds of different services where you just come in and talk to somebody, learn something, and progress in life. Completely free of charge because it's a public library, which is why we record here. But anyways. But now I want to go into something you wanted to talk about. Okay. And you brought it up to me a while ago where you were like, you want to talk about the use of pussy and how people use it in today's society.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Okay, all right. Pussy, in abstract. Nah.
Yo, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
No, it was the other day. I was talking to somebody, and they were describing a situation where something had went left, and I said it was a female I was talking to, and I said, I mean,
a woman,
yeah,
or girl.
It was a lady. It was a young lady,
or a girl.
No, it wasn't a girl.
Okay.
Because I work with children, I distinguish between
okay.
the girl. Yeah, it was a young lady, and she she was describing the situation, and I said, I mean, that's what happens. That's the chance you take when you fuck with someone's pussy. Mm-hmm. And she was like, that's just so ugly. You reduce a woman to that. And I'm like, I'm not talking about her as a woman right now. I'm more speaking to all that it means to that man. And I'm not really, I'm using it in the same way that women say, like,
that's my dick. Pause.
Right. Right.
I didn't want to say it. Like, I knew what you were thinking. I was not going to say
it. And I can say, how you reduce me. No, but they mean that's my dick, that's my man, that's my protector, that's my provider, that's all my things. You know, that's my dick, bitch. Back up. Like, I understand what it means, but I understand because of the times that we're in, and we're more...
certain things we say a certain way.
Right. We're more aware that things come from a very brazen and ugly place. Mm-hmm. And so I know that it's something I picked up in not necessarily the cleanest of environments, but I know that when it was spoken to from a position of reverence. Yeah. For the man, and reverence for the woman and her position. And and the use of pussy was more so just a colloquial way of describing the extremeness with extremity. I use the extremity of what we're talking about. How so basic yet so vast and serious it is. Like pussy, it's so simple, basic, like but that's.
It can mean something so much to some specific person.
That's the man's world. Not the pussy, but what we're attaching the word to. That's the man's world. And so it's just that, in abstract.
You're wrong for that. I'm going to let you know right now. Everything that you just said, you're wrong for. All you said was, that girl is that guy's piece of property. But I know that's what you intended. But I understand how people would take it. Because, again, it comes back to that word female. And where Iraq says, I say pussy like I say female like I say bitch. Wow. Could you imagine if I say pussy like I say bitch? Jeez. Wait, I already do when I call guys pussies. But nonetheless.
It's the same thing. It's the same
exactly.
thing.
Yeah. But no, if you're like, I understand, because I can understand how, I hate using this word, but I can understand how derogatory pussy can be.
I fully understand it. Like, it's not.
But that wasn't your intentions behind it.
Right.
Keep using it.
Oh no. The good fight will get fought, bro. and we will not be out here calling bitches anymore.
Hell yeah, we'll just be calling them females. My words, not yours. But yeah, I think it's. We have to understand, like, I think compartmentalization is a big issue in today's society. It's one of the most annoying things that we can come across, because I get this shit just for being a Kanye West fan. All the time. Kanye West is my favorite artist. I've said it time and time and again. Kanye West will always be my favorite artist.
Fair enough.
But I don't care about his political views. I don't care about his personality. I care about what he put music out. And he's one of the most creative artists I have ever seen. For him to play both the rapper and the producer side, he's one of the most creative creative artists I have ever seen. That is why I'm a Kanye West fan. Okay. But people will look at it and be like, but he agrees with this person. He agrees with this. He has said that. And I'm like, but I know how to compartmentalize. Exactly. I know how to take that one little segment and appreciate that one little segment. That's why I say he's not the greatest person. He's just he's my favorite artist. I don't even say he's the best artist. I say he's my favorite artist, because we, in today's society, we struggle with compartmentalization. And when it comes to derogatory terms, we don't know how to compartmentalize between what's a word and how it's used. Mm-hmm. We can take two different fucking words, and we could say this word, pussy and this word pussy. One actually specifically, scientifically, physically describes a part on a female's body, and one describes an emotional state in which you are being
a bitch.
A bitch.
which is then, even though being applied to a male, is derogatory to female.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm saying that in full seriousness.
No, I understand. And but we don't know how to compartmentalize that. So we hear the word and we umbrella it for no fucking reason. It comes back to female. Right. Like when I say female, there's a definition word for what female means.
Right.
But since you have heard it in a derogatory way, like these fucking females, like God, I can't stand this female, shit like that, then you keep putting the word in a box, and you don't know how to separate the word from the intent. And that's something, as today's age, like when it comes to the word pussy, it's something we have to learn how to do all over again. Because I feel like we were always capable of that. We used to be able to do that. You know, like, nigga.
Oh.
Like, I feel like we were really good at compartmentalizing nigga. Like, but then, like, right. But then when you think about it, no, we actually weren't. But we were because when we hear it from certain people, we were able to compartmentalize. That person said this word, and I'm cool with that. This person says that word, I'm not cool with that. Right. That is compartmentalization right there.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I say we are capable of it. We just haven't been using it when it should be applied every time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, keep saying pussy. But don't say it to a girl. Don't be like, "You are my man's pussy."
No, that's not because that's not really the context.
No, I get it.
I'm only addressing it more in the. I guess
that's how the guys.
Abstract, not in the actual. I'm not addressing the person.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, but it depends on the woman though. That's like how she talking. Just be like. It is what it is at that point.
But at the same time, if that's how she talked, I wouldn't even have to explain half of this shit.
Exactly. Yeah. If you came across every female that was fine with you using the word pussy, then you would never have this conversation.
But I mean, some women act like they're fine with it, but then later on they'd be like,
but you still have to make the problem is you still have to make a public announcement after you do shit like that because the majority, the mass, does not take it that way.
That's true. But again, I don't appeal to the masses. I appeal to myself. So fuck all y'all.
His words, not mine.
That's why he is not on camera. Shout out 795 Production. Yes, I'm attacked though, right here. Oh man, all bad. Last thing, you brought this, and I was really caught off guard because I was like, what? What the fuck did he mean? You said cross-generalization.
Cross-generational accountability in hip-hop.
Okay.
And I, the reason this came up is because Juicy J recently, he had just tweeted, hey, I apologize if my music encourage you to do drugs or something. Something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, there's galvanization, and people are like, oh, nah, you ain't making nobody do nothing. They grown folks and all this other shit. And it's like, do you got kids? You ever really watch kids, man? Watch kids grow up and develop and see how fucking dumb they are because they're just sponges going through life. If they're watching this in the whole vibration of a scenario is this, it takes a strong personality to not at least put a little bit of that shit in your pocket and go with it in life. Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing wrong with the older generations. Instead of just not saying shit and flipping over and just going on, I make kid music now. Being honest about I apologize for my contribution to the bullshit. I was young, I was getting the money, and I didn't really have a full appreciation for the impact of my light on society. You're not wholly responsible for it. You're not solely responsible for it. But you were part and parcel. You don't get to sit and sell T-shirts at the lynching and say, but I wasn't the one hanging them. I didn't go out. I didn't go run them down. Okay. I didn't string them up. No, nigga, you still incurred a benefit from this whole activity. And on top of that, you were selling T-shirts that were promoting the shit that was a destruction. Yeah. So just own that. Yeah. No one's gonna come pick it, ride through, and snatch you out. No one's gonna come and get your money no more. Be a fucking adult. Own the shit.
But and you know what? You said that, and that shit had my mind boggling just now because. Excuse me. Holy shit! I hope y'all didn't hear that just now. But did you hear it?
Hey.
My bad. I'm sorry, audience. But you bring that up, and the problem with that is people don't know life progression. People can't visually sit here and say, people don't know how to do a mental timeline on people. Like, if you could see, like, you used to rap about doing all these drugs and you used to promote this kind of violence and stuff like that. Now, you know, we're 10 years down the road and you haven't really progressed that, but it's like little tidbits here and there. And now we another 10 years down the road and you haven't done any of that. People don't know how to look at your timeline. They will base your entire fucking life off one period of your life. Right. Like, I wish motherfuckers could go back into podcasts. Just podcast was, what, 4 or 5 months we've been doing this shit? Yeah. And you could base it off of, like, how conversation went from episode 1 to 5 to 10 to 15 to now. Like, if you could see a progression, but that requires you paying attention. That requires you watching the build. Right. Like, motherfuckers been like, I'm here since R.I.P. to Nipsey Hussle. Mm-hmm. Big shit right there. Most definitely. But I could use him as a prime example because people have never watched his path. And they will sit here and they will promote his shit and talk about, they will promote everything that he's done. They will talk about how he's been the greatest contributor ever, and they don't know anything about him. They've never seen the progression. Right. So then you have these people that are on these news segments that are sitting here like, this guy promoted a gang warfare and he promoted drugs and stuff like that. Okay, like, but a person's youth is different from a person's experience. A person's experience is different from a person's age. There's progression in every person's life. Unless you are the person that was given $1 million fucking handout from your father and then turned it into $5 million, then maybe you can't really relate to what struggle. That was a shot. I'm so sorry. That was such a big shot. Your words, not mine. But like there's people that go through like life progressions, and for us not to be able to acknowledge that, okay, you started here and that was a culture that you were bred in, but then you've progressed in your life. God forbid we use progression as a word. Right. But now you've moved forward with your life. Now you are in a different place. Now you understand the sins of your past. Right. And then we're still holding people accountable for that. Like, who cares what somebody's doing yesterday? We could see somebody at fucking Habitat for Humanity volunteer work yesterday, but all we're looking at is their Twitter stream from 10 years ago.
I got 2 examples for that. Like Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg. Like, they used to be like heavily, well, everybody knows Ice Cube.
Yeah, everybody knows
like,
Ice Cube.
Fuck the Police, like, granted, one of the best songs out there in rap to date. And Ice and Snoop Dogg, like, this nigga was a fucking Crip.
Mm-hmm. Like, and it still is.
Okay, so is Nipsey Hussle, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Your words, not mine.
His words.
Your words, not mine.
But yeah, like, they were like heavily gang affiliated, but now like Ice Cube's a fucking multi-million movie star with multiple movies, and the freaking he has his own freaking basketball league. Like, what the fuck? Yep. And then people still go back to like, oh yeah, he was this. He
doesn't even look like every time Ice Cube shows up outside of like a TV camera, he looks like a pastor.
Yeah, but you know, I feel like a lot of the slack that people catch is that we're in an age now where we know everything's fugazi. Yeah. Then they like people address people by the character that they played on TV.
100%. I will never trust that nigga Terrence Howard again.
Chill.
I'm saying, like, people still refer to Cicely Tyson as Miss Jane Pittman. Yeah. From that time, people who were from that time. Yeah. So
Tyler Perry will always be a cross-dresser to a lot of people.
But like
I'm trying.
But I mean, in all respect, that's a bad motherfucker. Like, no. Tyler Perry, that's a bad.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Madea was a bad.
No. I mean, Tyler Perry, I don't smoke, but I'm saying. But that's a bad motherfucker.
No, Tyler Perry is an amazing just person in general.
But they catch a rap because people saw what happened with gangster rap. Like the way we lost so many creatives. We lost so many thinkers because everybody was bound up feeling like they had to be. Have you actually gone and watched a lot of rappers that were from like the 80s and 90s? Like, I'm surprised at the amount of the way they carry themselves. It's very distinguished, and it's not a manner in which you'd have thought this nigga who was rocking golds and talking this shit would have been at the age of 40. Yeah. But the problem is all the people who were listening and who were tapped into that vibration and that charge moved in a manner that destroy generations and destroy lives. And then these people get to hit their progression and then at least not acknowledge that they were part and parcel of something that came through and wrecked us generationally. It opened us up and gave us freedom, but it gutted us.
But that's another big issue that a lot of people don't want to realize in today's society. Like, we can sit here and talk about how like all these rappers have come and gone. Right. We could talk about like the impacts that they had back in the day. But the thing that we don't understand, or the thing that we refuse to look at, is the problem where we look at these people and we never ask why. In the sense of, okay, well, why did you grow up on the street? Right. Why did you do these things during your youth? And if you ask a lot of black people that grew up on those streets, or it could be any kind of minority that grew up in those kind of situations, and you ask them, I'm just trying to stay alive. I'm just trying to make ends meet. Like, there's so many little situations and stipulations, and until you look into that, it's the rich white donator that goes to the third world country and sits there and lives the day of that third world country person, Ethiopian, but like
I was referring to
I'm kidding.
Marathon runners that was near the commentary on their economic status.
I'm kidding. I know a lot of wealthy Ethiopians. Shout out to my Ethiopians. I fuck with y'all. But no, like when you go, like when you're that person that has that statue and you go and you just delve into that lifestyle, then you can understand why people do the things that they do, or why people live day to day. But that requires you being a little almost empathetic of what other people go through, for you to take the time to understand the struggles and the plights that other people have gone through that you can't really relate to.
I mean, it's on extreme, but like when I was like 18, 19, I had strong opinions about certain things. I think niggas can make decisions and they got choices and all this. And then one of my homeboys is like, nah, man, if I won't selling it, she'd have been sucking my neighbor's dick to get it. I'm talking about his mother. And I said, oh, okay. Some people are really
something so simple could just click like that.
Yeah, I gotta keep. Yeah, it's
rough.
Yeah, that's a word for it.
Big rough.
That's a word for it.
Shit. If anything you take from that, don't fucking disregard somebody else's plight just because you don't understand. Definitely take that from it. Like, everybody's got a perspective. Everybody should be heard. But before we get out of here, since we started this new segment, I'm so excited to drop this next one.
Yes, sir.
For episode 17, plug of the week. By the way, for anybody that's going to start keeping track of the plug of the weeks, we will start putting that on the SoundCloud, our Sins and Woes podcast SoundCloud page. There will be a playlist for plug of the week. So every week that we introduce a song, it will be on that playlist. So please tune into us on SoundCloud to keep up with all those songs if you ever want to listen to it, or leave a like or a comment for whatever artist is on there. But plug of the week, episode 17, our second one. This guy named Buto. Now, I met this guy at Afia's episode 4 guest. She was also on episode 10. She came through and... or she did the drummer's beat. We went through, me and my best friend went to that, and I met this guy named Buto, and he sung his ass off.
Dope artist.
The guy's really fucking dope. So he's got this song off his EP called Spuddies. I'm gonna ask him about that later. Maybe I'll give y'all like an explanation on that. I really want to know what Spuddies is. So, like, I have so many questions. But this week's plug of the week is Blessings by Buto off his EP Spuddings. Please check it out.
Ostentação, palavra que eu gosto de ouvir.
What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without mine. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my words on the tip of your tongue. Racing to get to your car, wishing that we'd go too far. You got a hand on your heart, I'm gonna blow her cover. Bad girl, but she's so proper. Yeah, I can find another, but I think you're the one for me. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without mine. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my thoughts in your head. Things that I said, fantasies of a future. Dreaming you gotta wake up, not sleeping into coma. You wanna count some commas, girl, I ain't got no commas. Dreaming you gotta wake up. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without mine. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, no, no. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without mine. What you doing tonight? Baby, would you like to spend some time? You look so fine, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my blessing. I can't let you leave without my blessing. No, I can't let you leave without my.
All right. Holy fucking shit. Shout out to Buto for that goddamn track.
Straight fire.
Shout out to Buto for letting me get that track. And that is our episode 17 plug of the week. You can follow him at Buto Music. I'll make sure I link him in whatever shit. I'm going to start linking everybody. Because every time I say it, I don't know if like it's going to be above or below the track. So I don't know. But again, you can always catch our shit. Every song that gets played on this, on the plug of the week, will be in a plug of the week playlist on the Our Sins and Woes podcast SoundCloud page. So you can catch it there. With all that being said, got anything you want to leave off on? Any positive notes?
I do have a positive note. Before that, I want to send a rest in peace. We recently, the black community, Honorable Judge Ola Lewis, Superior Court Judge, District 13B, Brunswick County, North Carolina, just recently passed last Sunday from a rare form of liver cancer. She was laid to rest yesterday, held in repose on Friday. She was, at the time, the youngest member on the bench in North Carolina, I believe, or at least youngest female. But I know she was the longest standing member of the bench in North Carolina.
Yep. And
she was an advocate for drug rehabilitation,
police reform.
She was overall just a very mighty individual. She kicked up dust. She did not take names. I'm sorry, she took names. she didn't take no mess. I had the honor of clerking for her when I was in law school and helping her on a campaign for Supreme Court, North Carolina. And I just want to say rest in peace, to say my thank you to you on a larger platform. And my positive note is believe in yourself even when you don't believe in yourself. Respect when other people believe in you, because that means that it is there. Because most people are too self-interested to even take the time. So if they do, capitalize on that.
Perfect. Great positive note to leave out on. And with all that being said, to all my millennials, being your age is a sin, and no one wants to hear your woes. And to everybody else, this has been another episode of the Our Sins and Woes podcast. Peace.
Sins and woes.